Morning all. How are we all this morning? We got in this morning. Rand Wolf, good morning, my friend. Leading Loser, good morning. Techno King, morning. Hope you're well. I'm okay. I'm not too bad after yesterday. Roger, morning. Nicholas, afternoon. Techno King, let's have a green day. Absolutely. I need a green day more than ever. So I have adjusted my mic slightly. I noticed yesterday it was keeping, obviously with my cold, constant little sniffs and all that, so it was picking out every tiny little detail. So it's sort of an ongoing process, this streaming. I'm still relatively new to it. So I've adjusted it a bit, so hopefully it'll pick up a little bit less of the sort of background, I don't know, sipping your tea, coughing, sniffing, all the usual stuff you don't want to hear. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Right, yesterday, obviously, I had those issues with trade copier. So I learnt a few lessons. So I think one of the accounts was blown anyway, and the other one was 200 off its max drawdown. So I took a gamble on that, a quick punt for the sake of it, and it failed. So I thought I'll get rid of that for now. So but at least I've got trade copier. I've got that for maybe later on down the line. I'm just going to concentrate on this one account. I don't need the stress of it anymore, really. So I'm just going to concentrate on this one account and hopefully see if we can build this up and get back to some green days and be sort of careful. Get back to trying because the trouble is, okay, having one red day, when you get three in a row, it certainly rattles you, as most of you will probably be aware of. Afternoon, Scruffy. Morning, Sam. Hey, Keithy. How you doing, bud? DZT. Afternoon. Jacko. Morning. Mike. Morning. DZT. Focus on second entrance. Yes. I know what I'm supposed to do. I think I don't know, it's just rattled me a little bit, and, I know I've got the skills to be able to make money, but obviously it's the psychological bit that can rattle us all from time to time, and in fact that's where most of us struggle. So also what I'm not going to do, and don't take this the wrong way, I'm going to try and not look at the comments as much, because sometimes when you're looking at the trouble is when you get more and more people and you've got lots of comments on try this, move it to here, or try your channel there, sometimes that can affect my bias, really. So it's probably better if I concentrate what I'm doing more. So if I do miss any comments, don't get offended. It's not. I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm just trying to focus on what I'm doing. The trouble is, once I start sort of adding other comments and ideas in the mix, it can get a bit messy. It can get a bit confusing. So I'm just going to concentrate on what I know and what looks right to me, and trade that as is, like so. What else we got here? Okay, good idea. Yeah, sometimes see it was okay sort of the first sort of week or so, but when you get 100 sort of people watching, I'm not saying everyone comments, and then some people are saying this, and it puts these little doubts in my head, and I'm thinking, oh, is it this, is it that? And sometimes it can just it can sort of be a bit detrimental. So what I'm going to do is just chit chat as I go along, what I'm seeing, and just focus on what I'm seeing, and trade it as is. And occasionally, if I have the little comment, I'll have a little chit chat as well. I think that's really smart. Become too popular, yeah, probably for all the wrong reasons. Actually, it's Jacko. But yeah, I was chatting to Marlon, another trader buddy of mine, last night, and he says he'd seen a little bit of difference in my trading. I adjusting things and moving things around, probably where I sort of shouldn't. So that's not your guys' fault. That's me. That is not focusing on what I'm doing. So I know sometimes I'm going to miss things, and you guys might see things, but it's all about learning and progressing and all that sort of stuff. So let's see how we get on. So, okay. Now we've got some news in about 25 minutes. So I'm going to be careful looking at any trades now. So far we've had this little push up, and we've had a little bit of, I put that there just as a little bit of a what's it, but it's definitely sort of, we've had a push up, haven't we? And we've sort of, I'd say probably somewhere around about like that, I'd say. Something like that. These are never bang on right, are they? We just put them there just to try and build a picture of what we're seeing. So let's stick that like that. FOMC, yeah. That's a bit later on. I've got that at 7 o'clock on my chart. That is in about 4.5 hours, I think. So also what I'll probably do is limit my trading, I think, to 3.5 hours maximum. I got to say, when I got off the stream last night after about 5 hours, I have never had that stiff neck like that in my life. And maybe once before, I can remember when I was trading my live account. So I think what I have to do is try and limit it to a maximum of sort of 3.5 hours, I think. I think less is more. So that's probably what I'll do. But this is an ongoing process, isn't it? This streaming business. It's an ongoing process. It's not straightforward. A lot of people tend to not do it because they find, I don't know, maybe it's difficult to focus on everything, or it might be, I don't know. People have their own reasons why they do it and why they don't do it. But I think it's helped me. But I've got to let it not sort of take over me, because obviously, the more people that watch and the more comments come in, you can sometimes you can get a bit carried away and start changing things and end up getting yourself in a bit of a mess. So, Mike, well, we should do our part. Well, no, you guys chat away with yourselves. That's fine. But I think what I was doing is I was looking at the comments and I was looking at the, where people had drawn their trend channels, and I was moving stuff around. So that's purely me doing that. But the trouble is then that affects your bias, doesn't it, I think? So that's probably what I'll do. I'll just focus on what I see. A lot of us are going to see different things from time to time. A lot of us will see the same thing. So that's what I'll do. I'll just focus on what looks right to me, and if I miss something, I miss something, and it is what it is. 100% agree. 4 hours, yeah. Wasn't it? It was about 5 hours yesterday, something like that, wasn't it? I got to say, my neck was so stiff last night. I found it really hard to unwind last night. I had a chat with my mate Marlon. I had about 3 double whiskies, which was probably good last night, but not a good habit to get into. And I went to bed, and I was trying to put some headphones on with some relaxing music. I just couldn't wind down. So a combination of trading too much, and I think what set me off yesterday was having problems with that trade copier, and I dropped a trade in by accident. I don't know what I did, how I did it, but I dropped the trade in and I lost. So the 2 of those rattled me, but these things are sent to testers. The accounts still have a decent amount, so I'm just going to take my time, get back to basics again, wait for those obvious trades, and maybe just a little bit of chit chat in between. But no, don't you guys all back your comments. You chat amongst yourselves. So we'll see how we get on. So far, we've had a push up and we got a bit of sideways. Whether this is a fail break or not, I don't know. Possibly. I can't. Well, there's not a setup for us at the moment, but we do have an upward bias. I'm a little bit uneasy about short in there anyway. I'd say it's likely going to come down, but there's no real setup, I don't think. I prefer that a little bit. Excuse me, ticking above, so we'll see. And obviously, we pushed in. We've had this sort of low, and we could have this sort of it could be this sort of overall type of a thing, possibly. You could say it fits. You could say it. You can make these things fit sometimes, but it sort of seems like it's having an upward bias currently. So, morning, SW Blaze. Morning from Chicago. Yeah, so I hope I've adjusted this mic and it sounds okay and it's cut out some of the crap, basically. I think what it is, sometimes because I'm stressed as well and on edge, I've listened to myself, I'm almost picking up these little habits. It's quite weird. I think I've been having meltdowns, mini meltdowns or mini strokes, I think. But okay. So hopefully if I've adjusted, just wound it down a little bit, so hopefully it backs out of those little this little innuendo noises, these little things that are going on. Hey Philip, how you doing? Who else we got in the room this morning? Jacko. We said hello to Jacko. Kim. Morning, Kim. I think I might have said hello, didn't I? Yes. Futures day trader. Good morning. Bill. Absolutely. Good morning, Bill. I've got to say, I do have the odd little... Oh, just whacked me monitor there. I do have the odd little message come through. Messenger. Who did I have? Kim last night. Kim messaged me. Yeah, I had a nice message from Kim last night or early hours in the morning. Was it this morning? Yeah, early this morning. Just mentioning about Mark Douglas's webinar. Now, I have seen them all, but I did watch about half an hour of the number 4 this morning, Kim. So, yeah, sometimes I get little messages and they'll give you a little bit of lift because we all know, anybody who's done an evaluation or risked a bit of money knows what it feels like to trade. Sometimes it can be the best day in the world, and other days it can be the worst day of your life. That's what it feels like sometimes. When everything was going well, those first 18 days, God was on such a high, and then 3 red days in a row. So I would say each day has possibly affected the following day. So all I want to try and do is not be afraid of taking a trade, but just be careful. Just take those obvious ones, and all I need really is a trade or 2 a day, really. I've been watching Taylor quite a bit on what's it called? Pick trading. Just got a mental blank. It's Taylor and Marco, and I know Taylor scouts for 4 points, so I tend to do 3.5 to 4. So I've set mine now to 4 points, and I'm going to try and stick to those 4 points. Unless I think there's a possibility we could have a good move, in which case I may move it up, and when we get the 4 points, jam my stop in, and if I get any more out of it, great. But I mean, if you can get 4 points and take 2 trades a day, that's a nice little income off top pick trading. That's it. Yeah, I do like those guys. I've been chatting on and off with Marco for 1.5 years. So I like Taylor. He's quite nice and precise and clear, very confident in what he does. And I noticed some of my trades over the last couple of days where I've taken good setups, and sometimes they've come back a bit and a bit more, and I've lost my bottle, but they've ended up doing what I expected them to do. And I've noticed that Taylor does that as well. He just sits through them. He just sets his 4 points and he sits through them. So I'm going to try and have a little bit more confidence in my setups. And we'll see how we get on. So let's have a quick look at this market. So, okay, so we opened here. We went down to here. So let's see. Let's see. Let's just put a couple of those on there. Maybe we'll get a measured move up here. Maybe we've already had it, I think. Just as a bit of an interest. But it seems like we've had a couple of pushes up anyway. You don't take 4 points quick. Manage your trade and exit. Well, do you know, the strange thing is what I found, the trades I take that I get out of, I'd say 90% of them work. And I'm always frustrated. I'd say at least 80% of the trades I take that I get out of because I lose my bottle work. So if I think it's a good set, because sometimes I'll look at Max trades and he'll maybe do a long gear and it'll bounce 2 or 3 times and get his points or whatever. So sometimes these trades do take time. But what you'll find is, if we're going sort of, you're taking something here, that they'll go up a bit more, they'll come back, but they'll tick higher, and they'll go a bit more and they'll come back, but they'll tick higher still, and then they'll hit your points. So I think I'm better off, based on experience, if I take what I believe to be a good setup, it's just to let it run, but carefully. So I'll have to see what happens there. Our run rule is never exit early. I think you're right there. Just out of experience, I know when I took an evaluation about 6 or 7 months ago, maybe a bit longer, and I'm not kidding you, out of 26 trades, I won 24 of them. I was extra particular. Now, I would say probably about 7 or 8 of those trades, I was scalping 2 points, 7 or 8 of those trades I got out of because I lost my bottle, but they still all went on to make 2 points. So I think I'm best if I take what I believe to be a good setup. Now, if it goes sideways, sometimes it does that, but at least I've got time to look at it and think, is it a good setup? And if it is, I think I'm best off leaving it, because I took, what did I take? A couple of ticks the other day and it went on to make 4 points. So, and another one, did I take a 1.5 and it went on to make loads of points? So I think I'm probably better off leaving it. Experience tells me I win way more push for the actual points than fail, as long as it's a good setup. Okay, so we've had a breakout at the top of this area here, a couple of pushes out, and we've come strongly back in. So we have more or less hit a measured move, I think, all bar a couple of ticks there. So let's get rid of that. So manual trade entry, mechanical trade entry, exits, manual trade entries. When you say manual, what do you mean exactly? Obviously, we have automated. Nice, never exit early. Huge caps on this, but yeah, I definitely experience tells me that it's I'd have made way more money. Well, not money. I'd have hit my target a lot quicker, or the account would have grown. Whether whether it's a demo account, whatever, it would have grown a lot quicker if I'd have just let and take my points. But ideally, 3.5 to 4 points. And then, if it makes 4 points, I tend to want to then jam me stop in, say here. And if it makes a bit more, then so be it. Okay, so you could call this a range. You might not call it a range. It's hard to say. A channel, it's hard to say. So I have put that on there, but what I think I'm probably going to do, the tops don't necessarily fit, although we have an upward bias. Let's just see what happens here. You could call this a failed breakout. Let's keep an eye on the time. I don't want to trade in the news. It's a big no-no. Okay, so we've had this push down, bit of a break. New low. Let's see what happens. Once you decide to enter, following specific rules for managing the trade is much easier once you trade enough size runners. Yeah. I tend to not trade runners here. I tend to push the whole thing, whereas a lot of traders, they'll scalp maybe a point or two and then do a runner. But on 2 contracts, maybe when I get up to 3 or 4 contracts, then I'll possibly consider splitting the trade up a bit and trying to run in one. Okay, we started here, didn't we? Touched here. It did hold here. It's broken through, but it's pushed back. So you could say this is a possible channel. It's certainly going higher and higher, and that's usually an indicator of a channel. So let's see what happens here. See if we can push above the EMA and maybe get something. Let's have a look, but I'm aware of the time. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Mike. I know what you're saying. Maybe I'll be better off just setting it at 4 points and just leaving it. Well, at the end of the day, on 2 contracts, if you can make a 4 points profit and do two of the best trades a day, it's $800 a day, take it, before fees, which is a great consistent amount on 2 contracts. So that might be a better option. Maybe I should put the 4 points in. Well, the 4 points is set anyway, and just let it run and see what happens. Okay, so let's have a look here. Now, you can say this is a range and you can say it's a possible channel. The way we've pushed up and held below there might suggest... In fact, let's just remove this for now, because that might confuse things, and let's just do a line from here to here. Where was it? So that gives us an area where it's been. Let's just change that a little bit. Okay, see if that is a bottom of a... I just want to keep it in mind as well. We have sort of ranged and we've had a couple of pushes out and come back in, so let's just get a little bit closer there. So no trading tomorrow. I've got some funeral plans and stuff to arrange tomorrow, so I won't be trading tomorrow. And Friday, I should be trading Friday, okay. So, John. Morning, John. Morning, Groll Daddy. So we've had this channel. We've clearly had a break and a new low. Looks like we may be getting rejected off this. It's hard to say. I did look at that, but it's just a fact that so far we're moving up and we've had a break if possible. So we'll see what happens. That's just confusing things. Let's just remove it. Okay, we're going to break out a new low, so we try to go higher once. A little bit congested there, so although I do think we're sort of on the move upwards at the moment. If I have a quick look, 10,000 tick chart, that certainly seems like we're moving upwards. That's relatively clear. In fact, that's probably more clear than this one. We're sort of in an upwards channel currently. Whether that continues remains to be seen. So that okay. So we've had sort of two legs up there. We've had this. So at the moment, it's not very clear. It does seem like we've got an upward bias, but we've pushed in. We've had this little bit of sideways, a little bit of sideways chop. A couple of pushes out, strongly back in. We've had a couple of legs up. So you could call this a possible failure. I just don't like the way we've come out the top and strongly pushed back in. So we could have a couple of legs up and then it could come down. So it's just hard to say at the moment. Nothing I can really get into. It's not very clear at the moment. Sideways. In fact, to be fair, 8 minutes is the news. So I'm definitely not going to get into a trade at the moment because if I end up getting stuck doing this sideways crap, I'm going to be knackered. You don't want to be stuck in a trade. Got to say, I did a trade once, maybe, I don't know, 8-10 months ago. It was on an evaluation, and I hadn't noticed the news for some reason. I'd noticed it, but I'd missed it. And I had a 2-point stop, and the market shut up. 2-point stop on a short. The market shut up that quick. It went straight through my stop, and it took me out for about 5 points. So I had a 2-point stop, protected me, and I ended up getting taken out for 5 points. So I had a 5-point loss instead of a 2. So sometimes when the market moves that quick, take you a bit of time to get out the trade. Okay, so we've had 2 pushes up. We've had a push down, so this could possibly be a move downwards a bit, but at the moment, obviously with the news quickly approaching, I need to just stay out, keep an eye on things. So yeah, it was a little bit of a bad experience with that trade copy for the first time. I did message them. I haven't heard anything back yet. But there doesn't seem to be any sort of instruction manual that comes along with it. I watched Daryl's video on how to use it, and it to be fair, the way you showed it, it looked really simple to use. You set it and that's it. I didn't realise you can open multiple copies. I'd opened it. I'd set it exactly how I want it. Excuse me, and then I closed down, and obviously I saved everything, so I believe then it opened back up. So then I proceeded back in there to open it again a second time, so I think that's obviously what happened. Now, as you know, on another screen I have two smaller charts. I have the 10,000 and the daily, just to have a little glance at. Now, if I opened it on this chart now, would it open it on two other charts as well, or would it just open on this one chart? That's something you can help me with if anybody knows the answer to that. I think what I'm going to have to do is just concentrate on this now, but just get to know it and learn it a little bit before I do decide. And then maybe when I've had a couple of payments and we get another good offer on evaluations, then maybe I might have another go. Incidentally, I appreciate anybody who used my evaluation discount code. Had quite a lot, actually. I think it equated to something like $80 went into my account yesterday. So with the 90%, it doesn't cost you anything extra, and that's the only reason I put it there. But if anybody did use that code, I really appreciate it. That'll get me another bottle of whiskey to settle my nerves. So yeah, many thanks if you did use that. We have got discount available at the moment, but 50%, but I don't think I can bring myself to use that, to be honest with you. I don't think many people are going to struggle to pay 50% off, especially with the deals we've had on there lately. It's pretty hard even to pay 50% off. So hopefully they'll have the 80% off again soon with something at some point through January. They bring them out pretty often nowadays. So yeah, things slowing down a bit and going a bit sideways as expected. We've got the news coming up in about just over 2.5 minutes on my chart. Anybody got any idea of what the news is we're expecting, what it's expected to do? Anybody know? That's the thing about living in the UK. I don't follow it as closely as I possibly would. I just tend to know it's there and just tend to avoid it. Obviously, being UK based doesn't impact me, in the day to day as much as it would, you guys over in the US. Hopefully, I expect to be long gone by the time the FOMC comes out, which is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4 hours anyway. So. You're betting on a drop. Not big, but bearish move. I was listening to Mac last night, actually. I watched this chart at the hours of the morning. And he brought this up, and he was expecting a sort of another move down very, very shortly. So perhaps if we do have this news and it's on the bearish side, perhaps that may be That may be the catalyst then to sort of start the move to the downside. It's hard to say. Okay, there's the news anyway. A little bit of bouncing around. Okay. So we've had about a 15-point move there to the downside. That's what you wanted to short, isn't it? It's weird, we always seem to have that sort of bounce, then we sort of recover, don't we? And then I'm guessing then if we have had that push down, this little bit of recovery, we're going to go down again for a second leg, I'd say. Let's have a little look. Yeah, possibly get a second leg down, but nothing major, I don't think. Push down, we sort of recovered to the midline. Bonds the same, we're going up. But who knows? Okay. Nothing huge. We had that sort of, well, I say huge. It was probably a 15-point move down over a few bars, wasn't it? But we've sort of more or less recovered to where we sort of were. Okay, so that's that out the way. Okay, yeah, we fully recovered there. So yeah, at the moment, I'd say we're definitely in this range. A couple of pushes out, and we've come back in. We bounced straight off the bottom there. Exactly where that touched. It's weird how it does that. It's uncanny, isn't it? Where these closed, the bodies are closed here. This touched, that touched. A tick below the bodies, but we certainly seem to be ranging. So, what is that range? It's about 5, 10, 15. It's about 17, 18 points from top to bottom. Okay, so. So initially, I thought we had an upward bias. It's hard to say now. We're going to pull back in here. We had that initial. It was weird, isn't it? We had the initial push down, so you think, okay, a little bit of maybe slightly negative news, and then we sort of recovered quick, and we've had this strong push out. So, sometimes these things aren't very clear, are they? Just see if we have had two legs up here. That'll be there, wouldn't it? Okay. So we've had a push out, and it seems to be rejecting it again. No setups at the moment, though. Yeah, so we've had a couple of pushes out, and it's rejected it strongly. Thank you, Brant. I've got me a big mug of Yorkshire tea here, so I was considering sticking a whiskey in it, but okay. Yeah, twice it's tried to push out and it's strongly been rejected. Even more so this side. Okay, these are the overnight lows here. Well, no, technically. So, okay. Now, could this be an area for... that's a second entry long there at the bottom of this, especially after that big strong move down. I'd expect it to come back towards the EMA, but I just don't want to be getting into that really. I want to let it do its thing for a bit. If it breaks below here, it's a possible failure if it goes up, but after this big strong move down, I just don't want to be getting into anywhere near that. Today's quote: when you learn the trading skill of risk acceptance, the market will not be able to generate information. Painful. Yeah. I've listened to his book. I had it on audio, an audio copy as well. I used to listen to it when I was driving sometimes, and I do have it on from time to time. The one I try to get in my head is when you can trade, when you can control the emotions, all of a sudden trading becomes easy. That's what I'm waiting for. Shame he's not with us anymore. He passed away, didn't he, a few years back? Sadly. Yeah, I agree with that, Mike. I don't think there's a way without trading with emotions. I suppose a certain amount of emotions are a good thing, aren't they? I think it's good to have a little bit, because I suppose they can keep you on track as well. They can stop you from doing something stupid sometimes. Yeah, you'll always have some form of emotions. There's no two ways about that. Okay, that has made two legs down. Yeah, almost to the nearest tick that has. Let's remove it anyway. I think that's the key, isn't it? It's been able to manage them. I've had this theory lately that I've heard so many different ways of managing them, and I think a lot of it is just down to time. I think the more you've traded with them, the more you've got used to them. See, at the moment, I'm still very early on in my trading sort of career. I've had a good 18 days, but I'd say a couple of 3 years of making consistent profits, day in, day out, week in, week out. You'll start to realise then that you're obviously doing it right, and I'm assuming then that the emotions will just play less and less of a role the more experience you get, the longer you... I think Max said, I think somebody's mentioned, didn't he say, it took him about 8 years before it just never bothered him anymore. He just went, it was just ABC, it was just, it was just purely just numbers, and he went, he sat there, saw a trade. I mean, when you think about it, trading's simple, really. All you've got to do is sit there. When you take a setup, take it. When the trade plays out, close, forget it, move on to the next one. But in theory, in theory, it's not just straightforward, is it? And it's always just the emotions. That's it. It's just the emotions just mess with you. About there, actually. Okay, so we've had a. Just see the body's closed there, top of the body there. Touch, touch, touch. It seems to be holding there. Whether it'll push back in here or not, I don't know. I think after that quite strong move down, I think maybe we may be looking sort of more downwards, but it's hard to say at the moment. Would I take a short at the EMA? I don't know yet. I'd have to see what the setup's like, but at the moment, we're at the bottom section. We haven't hit the overnight lows yet, but we're at the, what I would say is possibly, the bottom of the range at the moment, but it is rejecting it quickly, isn't it? So maybe we will have some good downward stuff today. Based on the daily, if I look at the daily, we've had this strong push down and we've had some sideways, haven't we? And we've had yesterday, which was a lot of sideways over the last few days, and we've got this bearish pin bar at the moment. So I don't know, maybe we'll have the second leg down. So that's possible. But it hasn't even got back to the EMA, is it? It looks like it's going to break the overnight highs. Yesterday's lows. So I'm certainly thinking bearish at the moment. It has broken out. Came back in a bit, didn't get close to the EMA really, and it's rejected it. So I'd say we may be looking at some downward stuff. Hard to say at the moment. Let's keep an eye on this area. Yeah, we're just getting lower and lower, I think, can't we? See what happens here. Would I take a short here? If it was a good enough setup, possibly, because that is a strong push down. We've tried 3 times to get back to the EMA and we haven't. It's continued down strong. So if it was a good setup and it finished, like I like it, then I may consider a short there. But it's hard to say at the moment. We've broken the lows of the day anyway. See how we get on. Okay, we pushed up to the EMA. I suppose you could say there's a possible hidden second entry in that lot somewhere. I prefer it to come down a little bit further and push up again. Get an order ready just in case something does set up. Okay, you could say that's a hidden second entry. See what happens here if this ends up strong bearish. Okay, there's a first entry there. It has tried, but it doesn't seem to be. I'd like that to break above there and then hopefully come bearish. Let's see how we get on here. Let's just remove that a minute. See what's going on here. Okay, so we sort of have pushed back into this range area. What I'd like it to do is break, make a new high, push down, and maybe a lower high once we get below the EMA. It's just hard to say at the moment. It's just not mega clear at the moment, is it? We've had an overshoot with this channel. I am thinking bearish at the moment, just the way we've had this strong, but we've struggled a couple of times to get the EMA. See what happens here. If we can have a break, we'd run overshoot or come up here and then push down, and then I'm thinking then maybe we're going down then. There is a failure there, a possible failure. See if it triggers below here. That might then create some downwards movement. Okay, if anybody's out there, thought there may be some longs there. It's a little bit too far away from the EMA to go long, but it is a failure. But I'm thinking now possibly below the EMA with a lower high then to continue short. That's what I'm thinking, whether that happens or not. Possible. It's sort of possible. Let's see what happens. Sometimes that's how they can end up. See if we can push through the EMA and then give me a setup. Let me just get an order ready just in case. Thing is, it does go down. I think it may go down quick. So, see what happens. Okay, so we've had an overshoot and a break and a new high. See what happens here. If I look at the 10,000 tick chart, we have pushed strongly below and we've pulled back up to the EMA. So if we are going short, I'd say this is likely. I'm not saying this is right, but it's sort of weird how it sort of fits on that side, isn't it? See if we can get something below the EMA here. Let's open that up a bit. Could say that is a second entry short and it's triggered. It's not somewhere where I want to get into a trade above the EMA with the EMA pointing upwards. As bearish as I think things may be. See what happens. It might continue just to push up. It's hard to say. So let me just remove that for the minute. Let's see if we can expand this a bit. I'm not saying this is right, I'm just putting it there just to maybe see if it fits. If we can push below, Maybe get a lower. So there's the new high anyway. So we've had a break at a new high. I am thinking bearish at the moment, but let's see what happens anyway. So that's definitely a break at a new high. You could call that a bit of an overshoot, but it's sort of settled itself, that. So let's get an order ready, because if we can get below this EMA, then I want to try and get in on this, because I believe then we're going to maybe get another second leg down, or work towards a second leg down. I'm not picking tops. I'm waiting for it to push below for an entry. I'm not picking. That'd be picking a top and trading there. So I'm not doing that. I'm waiting for it to push below the EMA and then give me a lower high if it is going down, which it might not be. These are just my thought processes. But I'm just seeing, is it fitting here? Is it fitting here and here? I'm just trying to build up a picture. So I'm not at it again. If I'd have picked the bottom, see, I'd have taken that long back into the range. And if I'd have picked a top, I'd have been in this trade now, which I'm not. So I'm waiting for it to push below, if that's the case. Just got that failure. You have to figure out in the middle. Let's trigger 2 ticks. Just get rid of that in a minute. Let's have a look at this. Okay. This is all speculation. Okay, so we've had a new high. Try to go once. Let's see if we can get through the EMA and find a short. So, new high. It has ticked above it. Try to go once. We're out the bottom of this range. Let's see what happens. It might go back into it. It might go higher. It's hard to say at the moment, but that's why I'm not trading it at the moment, because they're stacked. I'm just having one ready in case I get a good setup. Just the way we've had this good strong downtrend, we've pushed up, we're sideways, and we're going a bit sideways, which is going to indicate to me just what a lot of it is just looking at getting a feel for what things are telling you, and it's telling me there's a possibility we could get another sort of a push down. So I'm just getting an order ready, and if I do see a good setup, then we'll see. Just enlarge this a bit. Now, this may be the top. It might not be, but I'm just getting a feeling down at the moment. Okay. There's no setup though. Try to go once, broke through there. I don't like that anyway. Hey Sam, how you doing, bud? Okay, like I expected it to do. So let's see if we can get something else. See if I had a break out of it, see what happens here. So let's see if this downwards trend does work. Touched here, right in the corner. See what happens here, see if it does it again, see if it pushes down, which will indicate to me this may possibly be. See, that's, there may be some longs in there. See what happens here. Fits. These are just all speculation. So let's see if this does push down here. I like the way we've had this strong push back in. See if we can come out again. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, this is just pure speculation, that's all. I kind of like the way I'm adjusting this, though, because it's fitting better and better. kind of like that, but it's a big old bar. Too rich for my blood. I'm definitely thinking down anyway, that's for certain. I think if we can get below here, then that's my thoughts anyway. Okay, so we've had a new high, possible second entry short. Let's see if we can get a little push up here, followed by a bearish one. Now, I'm guessing there's probably going to be some longs there. So, I'm going to take this on the engulfing. Okay. Next we take. I'm misjudging something here, aren't I? I'm misjudging things here. Okay. This is what I'm looking for. No, it's just not clear. I just got to stay out at the minute. Yeah, I did that. I don't know. Where did I enter here somewhere? There, ticked to below as a failure. I thought when it pushed below there may be some longs in there, and I thought it'll push down below there, possibly some longs in there, and that's what would give us a catalyst. But okay, look, it is what it is. Let's just get back to waiting for a decent setup. just choppy at the moment, sideways, nothing. Just it's not a good looking start, really, is it? Choppy, couple of pushes out, strong push down, breakout, back in. We're in range, yeah. Where are them? Yeah, it's all right. What? I think after the last few days of just being rattled, I'm sort of trying to get back in the green, and I think I'm just trying too hard. I'm trying to find stuff instead of just waiting for them to appear again. So I've got to try and just forget that's happened. It's happened. There's nothing I can do about it, and just try and wait for a positive setup in the right direction. chop. There's just nothing there at the moment, is there? Yeah, I've just seen that on the second entry short, but I can't go short here at the moment. It's just slowly moving up or making sort of higher highs. So it's just not saying it's not going to, but it's just risky at the moment. Last thing I need now is another losing trade. You just broke the threshold to take money out. Congratulations. Good on you, Toad. Yeah, that was up to $6,000. It's just under 5 at the moment, which is unfortunate. But I did put an order in for 2, so I'll get something out of it if it doesn't go any further. But this is the sort of first PA account I've got up to where I can take a payment. And I've put an order, and I'm certainly going to take a payment, even just to finance further progress of it. But I just need to get back to waiting for those perfect trades or near perfect trades. Trouble is, you just get trapped in here so much. It's just up, down, up, down, up, down. Yeah. First payment, first time I've gotten something out of it. So at least then I can use that to sort of, so I've got money to sort of keep reinvesting. But hopefully I can, I'm not too mega concerned about this account at the moment. Even with $2,000 in there, it's up to just under $3,000 after that. So if it does drop below, say, $4,500, then I might drop down a contract, and we'll see. Set up the deal last night. Too tired. Yeah, I did that a couple of weeks ago. Get back on track after a couple of trades. Keep it simple. Yeah, I just need to, I don't know, that big push down and not reaching the EMA and pushing up. Give me the, the idea that we were still going down or that we were going to continue down. So trouble is when you start drawing things like this, as that fits at the bottom and fits there, it's very easy to take something like that and think, well, yeah, we're going down, which is what I assume we're doing, when really, apart from me dragging it to there, there's, it's still a sort of, as it fits on the side and sort of closed here, it's very easy to get into a sort of a false sense of security, isn't it? And end up getting in the wrong direction. So I need to just let this it's choppy and messy at the moment. It's hard to trade that really. Even when it's been out a couple of times, there's not been no great signal bars. After this big strong push back, there is a bullish bar there which I could have taken. But just, I don't know, just after it never reached the EMA and it broke the lows, you just don't know whether it's going to come back up or continue out. So it's just hard to trade safely, isn't it? See if we can get up here, maybe with a possibly a short entry or something. We'll have to see. Just going to have to keep an eye on it now. Skip trade. Yeah. Yeah, they do. I'm assuming all you guys are trading, are you? Assuming you must be. Should have bought this pull-up. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? I mean, if we knew we were going to have a pull-up, I would have done. It doesn't quite work like that, unfortunately. Simple. I wish it was that simple. Excuse me just a minute. definitely slow, isn't it? Assuming that's got to do with the news. We can get a breakout at the bottom and a good signal bar to go long. I don't know if I'll get it or not anyway. Possibility. See what happens here. I'm guessing we may have another push up towards this top, possibly through it. Kirk. Ouch. Okay, we seem to be pushing out of this top area now. Not quite convincingly. I'm guessing we're going higher at the moment. Happens a lot of the time when you have a big push in and a little bit of sideways back to the MA. See what happens when we get to the top. Are we going to have two legs, or is that let's have a look at this. Make sure I don't get this wrong. So that's going to be back to there, isn't it? Yeah. No. So, you have a leg and another leg. It's hard to say at the moment. That short's triggered there, but there's no real setup there. And do I want to be short in here? Risky, isn't it? I think if things are bullish, people seem to get the impression we're bullish. I don't want to be taking a failed breakout coming back in, coming short. If we are bullish, I think you're likely to get trapped there. Okay, I think we are going up. That's the closest we've got to the EMA. Let's have a look, see if we can get to that. We'll run that to the top, see if that finishes, how that finishes. Usually when it does come tight to the EMA, that's when it can move up. And I'm hoping if it gets above that bar, there may be some shorts in there. See how this finishes. No, it's just too congested there. I'm thinking sideways, back tight to the EMA, big bullish bar, but it's just it's just congested. I just think I'm trying too hard there. I'm expecting price to push up to here, but at the moment it's just I'd rather wait for it to break out the bottom a little bit and then end up bullish before I'll think about taking it up. It's just hard to say at the moment. You're along there, triggered, you get trapped. It's just what I got to do is not let myself get rattled. Just take me time. If I don't see a setup, I won't take one. So, possible second entry long, whether this will go down or whether we'll have a failed breakout and push back in. We can get another bar forming somewhere around here, going long. I'm thinking up to the tops. I'm hoping that finishes bearish because, okay, it's triggered. Now, whether we'll go bearish or not, maybe we will. But I am thinking up. So if we can push back up into here with a bullish bar, I think there'll be some shorts there. That will give it a little bit of momentum. That's my thoughts. And then if we can get above there, I think there'll be some more shorts. Let's see what happens. See if we can get a nice bullish bar here. And then I'll call that a failed breakout. And I am expecting some more upwards. See what happens. See how this finishes. It may go down. Yeah, it's not going to give us a setup anyway, I don't think, is it? No. I think it's possibly likely it's coming back into the range. Trouble is the doji, isn't it? And I think if we can get above here, I bet money there'll be some shorts trapped there for sure. Break out of here, trying to go what? I bet there'll be. In fact, I think there's going to be some shorts trapped there. Okay, we've had a failed breakout. I am expecting up. Let's just see if there is some shorts trapped there. But I'm expecting up. If we can get above here, then I think we might get a good push up. Let's just give it a go, see what happens. I need to get above here. We have had a failed breakout and we've pushed out. Let's see what happens. If we can get above here, I think there's going to be some shorts trapped there. If I lose this, then I'm packing in for the day. I think I need to sort of regroup. maybe drop my contract size down and sort of rethink. We've come out the bottom of it. I am expecting sort of bullish at the moment. If we can get above here, I think there'll be some shorts trapped there. So if we can get above here, we may get a half decent push. I am expecting that. We've come out the bottom, and we've had a sort of a failed break out the bottom of the range here, push back in. So I know I see a lot of times you get a pattern, you get a strong push in, low to sideways. When it gets nicely back to the EMA, then we get another good push. So that's what I'm expecting. So if we can get a push above here, then I think we're going to get a decent. Okay, let's see what happens here now. I'm going to make sure I take something. I'm not going to be silly, so I'm hoping we're going to push up a bit more. Okay, let's not be too greedy now. Let's make sure I get something rather than nothing. Let's put that there. Okay, did I get there? That's what I expected. I still expected to go higher. So at least we're about in the green. Well, not quite in the green. Okay. A lot of the time I see that pattern. You get a sharp push up sideways, sometimes a couple of breaks, and when it comes down to the EMA and you get a good strong push up, it usually pushes out the top. That's a pattern I see quite a lot. Now, there may be some shorts here, I don't know, but I think it possibly go a bit higher. It's hard to say at the moment. The reason I went there is I went above that candle there is because I thought there'll probably be, that's sort of a lower high. It triggered and pushed up, so I think there's probably likely going to be some shorts trapped there, which give it a little bit more momentum. I thought there may be some shorts trapped there. I still think it will go higher. I don't think it's coming down strongly enough with this. And the sort of top of the range is I think it's more likely here, isn't it? We have touched it, but that's speculation. I think it's going to go higher personally. I can only say what I see, what I feel. That's the first leg. I think we're going to have another leg up here. It's pushed up really strongly here. A couple of guys have said bullish. So it's just a feel. I tend to sort of get I don't know, that's not right, is it? Call it like that. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I doubt it. But I think we're going to get a bit more of a push if we take these shorts out here, which I think that we're going to. I did consider sitting in the trade, but I thought I'd rather get something. What did I get? I think I got 3.5 points. Four and a half, 5, 6, 7, 8, 3.5 points. Happy. That's what I sort of like minimum if I can. Okay. Okay, it's doing what I expected it to do. We can only sort of see and make a judgment on what we see and what we see and what we feel. And I often see that pattern. We have a really strong push up. We go sideways, couple of breaks. When it drops below the EMA, big bearish bar, and then up it goes. So, I get a measured move, something like that. Let's see what happens. But a few people have mentioned bullish. It's hard to say. It may break out and come back down. It's hard to say, but maybe some shorts trapped here as well. Although I think that's a risky place to take a short. Two sitting perfectly like that. But if it does break above there, there may be a few second entry short there. It might come down. I I mean, technically, I think for the most part, it's held there most of all. But I think it's going to go higher. I think those shorts, if it breaks above here, I'd say there's going to be some shorts trapped there and may give it a little bit of a push. There are times in the past where I've taken it along there, to be honest with you. But I know in a lot of cases it'll have a quick push and it'll switch, pull back quickly, but I think it's likely to move higher now. In fact, I don't know if you remember Merce. Is it Merce, that guy? I used to watch him trade down again. He doesn't do anything lately, but he actually goes for stops. That's what he does. He tries to take out stops. So second entry short there that's triggered, he'll put an order above there. He tends to go for stops more than anything. May come back in. But I just thought the way that had a push out, came back in, couple of legs down. That isn't an ideal bar. Obviously, it's a bit of a doji. But I remember Max saying something about sometimes a doji is a sign of sometimes you'll get a doji before something like that. But we had a good strong push back in. I'd say we had a break, new high, push back into the EMA, and we had a lower high. Sorry, a higher low, finishing right on its end. And it ticked below there and pushed back up strongly. So, which is why I took a trade here, because I'm thinking there's going to be some shorts there. And if it breaks through those shorts, I think then it's going to slowly move up. We break above here, which we did a little bit more. There's probably going to be some more shorts in there, picking the top. Because after all this push up like this, there's probably going to be, I mean, it's a big bearish bar, isn't it? And a lot of shorts are going to take their points off that. But obviously some stay in it, don't they? They may have had a runner in there or something. Yeah, Max says something about that. Sometimes a doji is a sign that you're going to get the move you expect. Something like, I can't remember what it was, but going for stops also helps have a better understanding of what other people are doing here. So I'd say there's certainly going to be some shorts in there. How many, I don't know. A lot of them will have taken their points, but if they've got runners, they may think it's coming back into the EMA and then it's going to come out again come into the EMA and push it down below. So there's probably going to be some shorts there. I put money on it. There's some shorts there because we've had a break and a new high and we've had a push below this, closed nicely below the EMA, big bearish bar, finished on its low. It's gone down about, I don't know, 3/4 of a point, something like that. So if you had your order here, yeah, it went down for about not quite a point because that orange bit finishes right under there. So depending on how you took that, you wouldn't have got a scalp out of that. So out of that, and then it just pushed up strongly, and that for me is just an indicator that if we're going to push above here, then I think we're going to have a push out, which we did. I got 3.5 points, so I feel a little bit better. Where did I come out? There. Okay. I think that was probably a sensible area to take it out. I'm trying not to see if I'd have left it there and I took the full 4 points would have worked. But what I tend to do is when I take a trade now, I do earmark how many points it would have made, but I tend to just earmark it on the first initial push, not the pullback and more pushes. Yeah, but I'd have put money on there's going to be shorts there. A lot of people are going to be thinking top of the trend channel. We've had a push up sideways, break out the top, big bearish bar, push strongly back in. First entry, lower high, higher low. I keep getting confused. It's a lower high, isn't it? That's a high. That's a lower high. Yeah. Big bearish bar at the bottom of the trend. There'll be some shorts in there for sure. And obviously we had a big strong push back in, and that for me is just a bit of an indicator that. Are we going to come back in now? It's hard to say, possibly. But I've got myself somewhere back near to zero again. I think I'm down $50 plus a couple of contracts. So that's given me a little bit more confidence. I don't feel quite as bad now, but what I think I need to do now is just let it play out, sit and wait for the proper setups, and just go with what feels right to me. Sometimes I keep glancing and I see people saying bullish, people saying low, people saying it. So sometimes I'm thinking about what they're saying instead of thinking about what I'm seeing, and I think it's important to do. You've got to trade what you see, not what other people see. I've clearly got enough skills to be able to make money, and I got the count up. I got the evaluation from $0 to $3,000, and that account up to $6,000. So I made $9,000 in the space of, I don't know, what was it, 4 weeks, something like that. And you wouldn't be able to do that, at least if you didn't have an idea of what you were doing. But I think the thing that's rattled me over the last few days is that a losing day after 80. The trouble is, the more green days you have in a row, I think when you have a red day, it messes with you, and that's what it did. And I've had I probably shouldn't have been trading this week. I lost my mum about 4 days ago, so that rattled me a little bit. So I'm probably not in the best frame of mind to do it. But we all know it's not easy. It's not easy. It's a tough business to be in, isn't it? And there are days where I think, God, do I really want to do this? And then I have down days, and then I seem to wake up a couple of days with masses of enthusiasm and zest and spice to go again, which is strange. So I just, my gut tells me for some reason, I keep coming back to this. So that tells me that, perhaps it's something that suits me. Perhaps it's something, but I've only been doing it a couple of years, so that's still only very early yet. I'm what I would call at the start of the intermediate level. I've just got to a stage where I've got enough skills to be able to make money. But obviously, then you go into that second level there, where once you're making money, you tend to want to protect it. And that adds a sort of another layer of emotions as well. I've found the emotions have worn off a little bit with things like evaluations, but now you're building. Now I've got $5,000 in there. I want to really protect it. And see, there is a lower high here. But the way things are at the moment, I'm just not convinced we're not going higher. So it's hard to say at the moment. I'd rather wait for a fairly below here. So, yeah, you go into this for me is like a different experience. It's a more intense experience when you're trying to protect your pot, because I've actually made something now. I've got something, and that's the first time I've really done that. I've passed evaluations, and I think I got up to $1,200 on a 1p account, and that's the most I've got, which lasted a few days. But now I want to protect this. It's added another level of sort of stress. So I'm trying to. It's all about dealing with these. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, isn't it? It's this process. And just because I've managed to make an amount and pass an evaluation, do it in one go, doesn't mean all the stress and all the anxiety just goes away. I thought last week, actually, I've made it. I've done it. I've managed to do it. Well, I have, yeah. I've managed to pass an evaluation, and, if you add the 2 totals where I got up to, it would have come to about $9,000. So I've managed to take 0 to that much. So I've proved to myself I can do it. I just need to keep learning to manage these emotions, because they're going to come slightly different. Short memory, win, lose, close and move on, flatten everything, then start. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a case of making a bit of money and that's it. I was just going to take off. I knew there was going to be testing times but I've got to say, I haven't jumped in and done something stupid. I've made a couple of mistakes, taken some dodgy trades, but one thing I haven't done is revenge traded. And to be honest with you, I'd get to the stage where I'd see this pop out there and I'd just hit sell, sell, sell. And then it come down 3 or 4 ticks and I'd just cancel it. And I'd just scrappily try to make it, and I'd fight and fight and fight till either I'd blown the account or I'd hit my target. But I'm not doing that now. So, I'm glad you allowed us to join you during This ridiculous challenge. Yeah, it is. But we all know what it feels like. Anybody who's been trading, I don't know, 3-6 months and had any risk knows what it feels like. And it can be pretty uncomfortable at times, I've got to say. I've had days where I've felt physically depressed. And I've had days where I've blown another P account, and that time I punched my screen and I've gone and laid on my bed and I've put my hands over my head and I feel like screaming, you know what I mean? I felt like that. Excuse me. And it's awful. It really is horrible. You know, I'm just thinking, what am I doing? What's happening? It's unbelievable. But then for some reason, 3 days later, I just seem to wake up with a massive buzz again. That's it. I think I'm lucky enough to be able to process it, and I do. My brain just keeps processing. And then if I need a little bit of pick-me-up, I'll talk to a few other guys I know. I'll get a little bit of a pick-me-up. And then I'm on the sort of healing road then I'll process it and I'll say, oh, you know, okay, it's tough. It is. It happens. It's not easy. You know, don't blame yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. All the usual stuff. And I'll sort of go through that few days of a healing process. And then I'm back buzzing again. You know, I keep telling myself that, and it's absolutely true. If trading was easy, everyone would be doing it and earning a fortune. Well, it isn't. It's a tough way to make a living. But I think if you can persevere and keep trying, it eventually starts to get easier. Now, if I pay myself $2,000 for the next 3 months and then pay myself $5,000 for the next 6 months, I think it's fair to assume I can trade and I can make money. But, you know, with skill comes confidence. You know, the more money you make, you start to make regular money, then you start to think, well, I can do it. I am doing it. You know, it's clearly happening. You can't make money and build an account if you don't know what you're doing. But obviously, you've still got to manage and learn to deal with the emotional side. But from speaking to experienced traders, it does start to wear off at some points, but it takes time. You know, I know a trader now, it rarely bothers him if he takes a loss. He just puts it aside, doesn't affect him. But it takes time to get to that level. So there is a possible second entry long off this. I'm thinking possibly higher. We've had a breakout. We've tried to get back, and we haven't really. But it's not somewhere I want to get into now. I've managed to get myself back to almost break even, minus $50, which I can deal with. But what I need to do now is get myself back to taking good quality setups. And if they just don't appear, then I just stay out. If it means I go home today with 0 trades, much better to go home not losing anything than take stupid trades and, you know, you're not on your own. Same experience here. Everyone goes for it. I spoke to so many people over the last 2 years. I get messages. A guy I speak to a lot is Marlon. I've been speaking to Marlon probably for the best part of a year. He's just another trader. Lives in the US originally. I think he's from Armenia. And I talk to him probably 3 or 4 times a week. I had a conversation with him for a best part of an hour last night. And he's been doing it a bit longer than me. And he just, you know, sometimes you trader pals, when you're having it tough, they just know what to say. And I've had messages from some of you guys in there, you know, in the stream. I get messages now and again, and you might send a message and you might think, I'll just look at it and that'll be it. But they actually do stick in my head. Anything that gives me that little positive lift, I don't forget. It stays with me. Because, you know, it's all a matter of, it's that sort of big, long walk up a mountain, isn't it? That, you know, you're going to get up so much and you're not going to be able to find your way up. So you're going to have to come down a little bit and look for another route. And it's just, the only way I can describe learning to trade is a journey, a real journey. That's the only way I can describe about it. It's a tough journey. You know, sometimes you get days like this with all this bouncing up, down, up, down, up, down, up. They're just all over the place. And then we have a big, strong push down. And it's another range day, but some range days seem a lot easier to trade. Other range days, they just bounce all over the bloody place and don't make no sense. And I think it's okay to accept the fact that sometimes you're not going to get a setup. You know, I hear sometimes I read you guys and they go, I got 4 points on that, I got 3 points on that, I got 2 points on that. And I'm sitting here thinking, I haven't taken any trades. But I think it's okay to take no trades. It's okay to wait for because you get trades and then you get high quality trades, that are really, really obvious. And I think it's okay to be able to just sit there and not take anything. Because sometimes I sort of feel under pressure. I'm thinking, well, why am I not taking trades and you guys are? But I don't know, some of you might be on a demo. I guarantee you now, if I was on a demo, I'd have taken a lot more trades than I have today. But when you're on a PA account or there's sort of more money involved or you're on an evaluation, it's a bit different. You tend to go a little bit more careful, I think. So it is a bunch of mixed emotion stuff. I don't know whether that's right or not. It sort of fits. It doesn't. Maybe a bit of an overshoot there. I don't know, but I was expecting it to get to the top. Whether it'll come out or not, I don't know. But would you take a short here at these highs? Hard to say, isn't it? You might think you would if you get a decent signal bar. Let's just remove that. Wait a minute. But I've found my trading's changed a bit the more I've done this stream. So what I think I've got to realise is I've got to try and not pay any attention to comments that people say I've done this or I'm doing that, because it can affect your bias, I think. If I start seeing other people taking shorts, then I might think, perhaps I should look for a short. Or if I see some people saying, I think we're going long today, sometimes you can get it in your head and go, well, yeah, perhaps I should be thinking about going long today. When what I think I've got to do is just say trade what I see, what looks right to me. Okay, so we have strongly pushed it out of here. Okay, so we've had there's clearly two pushes up there. Let's see if we can get something, because I think it's feasible to say we're going to come back into here. So let's see if we can get a really nice bearish bar, especially after this strong push up. If we can get something very bearish and ride it back at least to the tops. Yeah, exactly. A lot of guys come in and they go on about, if I look on the NASDAQ, it's saying this, or if I look on, or VWAP showing me this, or the Fibonacci tool is saying that. There's different styles, different systems, and once you start to intermingle them, it's just a recipe for disaster. So I think most of you trade max system, but a lot of people will say, it shows this on mine, and sometimes too much information going in can sort of muddy the picture a bit. Yeah, we've had a strong push out there. Now we're thinking bullish. It's certainly starting to look a bit like that, but at the moment we're losing a little bit of momentum here. So if I can get something very bearish, I think it's a possibility, or maybe a lower. It's hard to say at the moment. It could have a couple of pushes back to the EMA and then continue up. It's hard to say. But they do say most breakouts fail. Now we're clearly in this range, aren't we, as a fashion? We stayed in the top half of it for a while, pushed down, stayed in the bottom half, and now we're back in the top half. We've clearly had some strong pushes out. It's definitely losing momentum, which is... I see a trader the other day talking about this. The places where it's likely to reverse is when you start to see that very slow in momentum. So there is a big bearish bar there. Let's see where that ends. It's possibly lightly. I don't like the way that's finished anyway, so. Yeah. Yes, futures day trader. I see more trades on my Apex sniper chart than I do in my 2000 tick chart. I think the issue is I have looked at that sniper system. I haven't done the free course. The only issue I have with it is if you're starting it as a beginner, it costs you £200 a month, $200 a month, which I think is a lot of money because not everybody will make it as a trader. I think it's quite a lot of money. Now, to learn Mac's system, it cost me $120 for the year. Now, I've got no issue with paying $200 a month if I'm earning money from it. But you're not going to jump straight into that sniper system and start earning money straight away. It might, even if you've had experience of trading, it might take months, it might take 6 months, it might take a year, you just don't know, it might take 2 or 3 years. So that's the sort of issue I have with that sniper system. Because I think a lot of the people attracted to trading go through these prop firms, and I think Apex know that. So a lot of people are going to start putting money into these systems when they don't even know whether trading is going to suit them, So I'm trying to be careful about what I spend on it, because it's very, you can pay thousands for courses, can't you? But I think this system that I've learned, I think it's a great system. If you've got the patience and the discipline to trade it well, I think it produces really good goods. And it also only cost $120 for a year. Now, I'll challenge anybody to find a better course that charges $120 a year. I think it's second to none. It's incredibly cheap. And I think Mac's done traders a big favour there, because he doesn't make a hell of a lot of money out of that compared to, what some people do. It's incredibly cheap. I believe he hasn't put it up for years. Okay, so we've had a breakout at the top of this range. We've had a clear breakout, that's for certain. Big, strong push out. So am I expecting to come back in? I'm not sure. That's a big, strong push out, that is. I think we're going to come back at some point, but I wouldn't be shocked if we continued higher. Let me see if I can find some form of... Okay, that kind of fits. That kind of fits really nice, actually. Started here, clear touch here, finish right at the top of the range, perfect there. So I'd say that. As far as an overall range, obviously we've had a break, new high, back to the M8. Short-term trend won't break, new high, back to the MA, push up, break, new high, possibly back. But it is starting to look like more of a bullish day. Now, I am aware that there is news later, but it's a couple of hours away at the moment. Certainly spent minimum of 20 exactly. So I think this system that's enabled me to get this count up to 6,000, which it was, and 3,000 on the evaluation. So if you total that from start to finish, up to $9,000 for a system that cost me $120 as a one-off payment, I think it's brilliant. I think Mac has done good things for traders. He comes over as a really nice, genuine guy. He never goes on about money. He never goes on about, on his YouTube channel. He never even comments on it. So he just does it. He doesn't get anything out of that YouTube channel, I don't think. He might make a small commission out of it, but you've got to have thousands and thousands of viewers to make anything out of YouTube. But he still does it 4 days a week, and he's done that for nearly 12 years. So I think what Mac's done for traders, I think, is brilliant. He certainly helped change my life. Some may disagree, not necessarily for the benefit. Excuse me. No, I think he's done great things for traders to help new traders try to get in there and make some money in the markets. I've got a lot of time for him. He's always answered me. He's always been very humble. He's always kept things very simple and very basic. And for $120, if anybody is thinking about trading and thinking about having a go at this, you can't lose. 120 is peanuts. $120, it really is. Yeah, you've mentioned that course. Do you know, I've looked into so much psychological stuff. I've gone to bed night after night listening to, psychologists and in fact, there's a British girl. Well, I think she's from Ireland, Northern Ireland. Creed, her name is. She has a couple of psychology videos on YouTube. She actually subscribed to me, so I was quite pleased about that. But I've listened to her quite a lot, And she explains it really well. And I've got to say, all the things I've listened to and tried, nothing has really worked. The only thing for me, I think the answer is no more complicated than it just takes time. You know, I've said this before. If your partner all of a sudden comes home one day and says they're leaving, I'm leaving you, you're going to go through a stack of emotions, aren't you? It's going to be shock. You're going to be angry. You're going to be upset. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be set. You're going to be. There's a host. Now, how do you get rid of those emotions? There is no way, really. Your friends could say, come on, let's go out and have a few beers, forget about them, but it doesn't work. It's just like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg. It just does nothing, in my opinion. The only thing that works, where anything in life you have a lot of emotions, is just time. It takes time to heal, time to get used to them, time to be able to manage them. And at some point in the future then, it doesn't affect you as much. And I don't think the answer to the psychological side of trading is any more complicated than time. I've proven to myself at high trade, both because they basically do the same thing, but Apex let you see behind the curtain. Yeah. Combined it with what I learnt from Mac and Thomas Wade. Well worth it. The company lets you yeah, they do. They let you do it for a month for free and then $1. But my experience of learning to trade can take a while, and I think $200 a month for somebody that doesn't necessarily know whether they're going to be able to. I mean, I've paid $120 for a year. If I had to pay $200 a month, I'd have been paying that for a year and a half. So I just can't afford it at the moment. I've just, you know, the way things are for me, I just can't afford it. I couldn't afford $200 a month at the moment. I couldn't. But obviously the price of this, you know, I mean, it may be a great system. It probably is a great system. A lot of people trade it, but I think if he brought it down in price until maybe you started earning some money, then I think there may be more people. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it's a big ask to get traders to pay $200 a month for something they don't know whether they're going to be able to do. I mean, if they brought it down to, I don't know, $50 a month for the first 6 months, and when you clearly, you know, if you use Apex, when you clearly get a payout, then they put the money up. I don't know. So we certainly seem to be having a bit of an uptrend at the moment. That fits really nice. 3 places there, 2, 3 places there. It seems to be respecting that line beautifully, and also here and here as well. Push up, bit of sideways, push up, bit of a correction, push up. I'm expecting it to come down to here, maybe to the bottom of here, maybe to the bottom of this trend, maybe to the top of this range, but that's just what I'm thinking at the moment based on what I can see. I think it's likely we've probably had a couple of pushes up, I'd say. That's more than that, actually, isn't it? Where's that initial push? No. Every trading system works. It's all about planet collecting. No need to hop around one system. Yeah. I've always been an advocate for just stick to one. I mean, I've heard the phrase many times in my life, jack of all trades and master of none. I remember when I first signed up with Andrew Lockwood, he said, find a system that works and master it. Stick to it. If you struggle with it for a month or two, don't move on. A lot of people move on to someone else. They'll do this for a few months. They'll think, well, it's a bit hard. I'll try the sniper system. They'll go on that for 3 to 6 months. Oh, that's a bit hard. I'll look at order flow and I'll try that for a bit. And a lot of people do hop. I've never done that, which is why I've never really got involved in the sniper system. Purely and simply because I genuinely believe this works and it works well. I think the most difficult part of this is having the patience to sit back and wait for those beautiful setups, which do exist, I assure you. But obviously they're few and far between, so you've got to have the patience in between to sit and wait. But it does work. I'm 100% confident this system works. I've been doing it for a year and a half now, religiously. We came into a bit of money 7 or 8 months ago, 8 or 9 months ago maybe, and I took 3 months off work, and I did this 5 days a week every day. There's never a day goes by where I don't watch Mac's chart or look at someone else's chart or compare my chart to other people or watch other people's interpretations. And I do it all. I've literally lived and breathed trading for the last 2 years, specifically 18 months, this style of it. So I know it works. I'm confident. 100% confident in it. Excuse me a second. Okay. Yeah, we certainly seem to be having a bit of a... I think we could say we've had a couple of pushes up, and we've had this sort of push up in a fashion. Big strong push down, drop out at the bottom of the trend channel, made a lower high, made it a lower the day, and we've sort of pushed up relatively positively. So at the moment, we've got yesterday's high there. So whether we'll clip that or not, I'm not sure. I would have thought so, from what I gather. Sometimes they can act a bit of as a bit of a magnet. So I think I'm confident now that this is a nice channel, bigger overall channel. And yeah, there are smaller trends. You know, short-term trend we've pushed there. We've made a new high. Couple legs back to the mate. Excuse me a second. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, push up, bit of sideways, push up, bit of a correction, a strong push up. A bit of sideways. I'm guessing it's going to come back here and then maybe push up some more. Let's see. So, I'm certainly thinking bullish at the moment. So, start at the bottom. Big bullish bar push up. Another big bullish bar push up. Yeah, every time it comes back here, we get something quite bullish. Moving up, so let's see what happens. Scalp there, did you, Kirk? You take that, did you, bud? Horrible ATR at the moment. It's actually quite low, that, isn't it? Oh, you're up 2.5. Nice one. Well done. Before that trap here. Okay, so we've had this sign, we've had quite a strong push out, followed by strong pull back. So, see if we can push down the bottom here, and maybe if we can get an offer in here or back here at the trend channel. Let's have a look. Okay, so I'm confident that sitting there nicely, there nicely, there nicely, beautifully here, beautifully here, beautifully here. No arguments there. That's about as clean as a larger trend, as you can see. So let's see if we can get something here. It's going to have to be a nice, strong setup right here. It may not even come down, and it's hard to say. Yeah, I've just had my confidence rattle a little bit in the last few days. It's all part of the process. But I just need to keep motoring on. Just try and take my time. Once I get another day or green day or two, then I'll start to feel a little bit better. And it's all these ups and downs, isn't it? But every time you have an up and down, things very, very, very slowly become better and better and better. And then over the space of, as I say, if I can be withdrawing money out every month consistently for 3, 6 months, whatever, I think you'll start to get more confidence and belief in yourself. Well, if I've been drawing money out for 6 months, I can clearly trade. Which you obviously clearly can. And then you should start to get that little bit more confidence and belief then. And then when you do get the odd red day, it shouldn't rattle you as much. I don't believe there is. There's something called latency, which I've got mine set where I was advised to put it. But I believe there's always, I think, about 20 seconds. I know the Panda guys mentioned it a couple of times. I believe it's about 20 seconds, thereabouts. Yeah, you could call that a failure, but that's not somewhere where I want to take a long that far from the EMA. I'm not saying it's not going to push up, but I think that's personally risky. A failure might well just shoot straight up. It's been quite strong, isn't it? But I'd rather it come down a little bit here first, or possibly down here, before I think about going along there. A little bit of sideways, and it is a bit congested here, isn't it? So it's just a little bit too risky. It'll possibly work, but too rich for my blood, that. YouTube lags 8 seconds. Perhaps it is. Well, if I do something here, if I sort of, let me have a look, because I can see what you're seeing now. If I draw this and count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, it's about 12 or 13 seconds, that was thereabouts. That's as scientific as I'm prepared to go. About 10 to 12 seconds, somewhere around about there. Maybe 8 to 12 seconds. I might have been counting too fast. Maybe 8 to 12 seconds, something like that. I suppose the benefit, the beauty is if I decide one day to actually have a complete meltdown and cry, I can click end stream before you guys get to see it. So that's the only benefit I can see. Okay, we do seem to be pushing up again here, but that's just a bit risky. You'd be glad to know I don't keep any razor blades or sharp objects within arm's reach. All the alcohol's downstairs locked in the cupboard. Fortunately, in the UK, we're not allowed guns. You still flying, Kirk, are you? Or you trade full time? Anybody take that fairly, did they? It's just a bit too far away from there for me. I got 2 points out of that. Yeah, TT, it might not just be the lag. It might be the case that it does look different anyway. Because that does happen. I think you'll rarely get two charts that'll be identical. They'll be close. But obviously the time, the data takes to get from the servers to my computer or to your computer, depending on where you are in the world, is probably going to be in milliseconds. But it's enough to make things look different. So, semi-retire from airlines and high-end VIP flying, glam jets and all that. Oh yeah, I'd love a jet. I've always been interested in planes. I've always been to air shows. I always used to love going to. There's a place in London, South London, called Biggin Hill, which was very prevalent during the war. And another place, Duxford, as well, in I think that's South Oxfordshire. I think I used to go to the old warbirds. Nothing nicer than in those Merlin engines. Spitfire, the Hurricane, and the Lancaster, and all the others. I still love hearing. There's nothing like the sound of a Spitfire. We live about 8 miles from an RAF base called Shawbury, RAF Shawbury. And when we have air shows in the UK, they often use that as a base. So you quite often see the old flying machines around this area from time to time. About 7 seconds. Yeah, there. I might be counting a bit quick, but it's thereabouts. I will look into it because there are settings that you can adjust called latency, and I believe that has something to do with it. From live streaming, I'm way out of that league, mate. I think you have to have 1,000 subscribers. I got a message pop up. You have to have 1,000 subscribers minimum. And you have to have so many hours, and so, I don't know. There was another guy who told me you can earn a bit of money from it, but I think he was earning something like from 1,000 subscribers, sort of like $6 or $8 a month, something like that. But it doesn't interest me. That the trouble is, once you do something like that and it becomes part of your income, you sort of keep doing it. But yeah, I think you've got to have tens of thousands of subscribers, and I think it's about views as well to make anything worth counting. It's a salt mine like anything else. Yeah. You built a complete B737 Max 8 simulator at home. Oh, have you really? I'll have a look at that. I've been looking for, because I recently, to do this streaming, I had to recently upgrade my graphics card. Is it NVIDIA 2060, something like that? So I thought about it. I've never really been into gaming much. When I was younger, I did, but I had a flight simulator a few years ago, but I have considered doing that. So I'll have a look. What's it under, bud? Your video. Is it just under your name? I'll have to have a look. Yeah, sim is better than doing it for real. Haven't got to worry about hitting anything, have you? I've heard of the number of days. A load of data which affects on how the chart. I think I'll have 4 days. Something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Yeah. Mac did say it once, actually. I can't remember what it was. So we are going up, but with a little bit of sideways. So I'll have to be careful I don't get suckered into something like this. I'd rather make sure there's a good setup. Because when it goes sideways, really, the next thing that pushes it up a bit more is a good setup. But it's easy to get caught out here, and it'll come back to the line, bottom of the channel, bounce off enough, it'll rocket. So it's easy to get suckered into it. So hopefully you're making money, additional money on your Apex discount code. Yeah, I'm doing all right on that. I think I had, was it yesterday? Yesterday I had about $86 or something just yesterday. I think total on my Apex account is about $230 in a little over a month. So I didn't think you did anywhere near that, to be fair. But I suppose the beauty. So, as I appreciate you guys using that. They only put it on there because it doesn't, but I didn't think I did anywhere near that, to be honest with you. And I think every time you hit $100, I think they automatically pay you, I think. But I'd advise you guys, anybody can be an affiliate, just go onto the website and sign up for an affiliate, and they'll give you a code. And then if you've got sort of trader pals amongst yourselves, just swap your codes. Your mate use yours, you use his, and you'll, save a few quid. But I think you learn more doing that than you will at YouTube. I think you've got to have tens of thousands of subscribers, and you're never going to get that doing this, I don't think. Although people like, I suppose, Thomas Wade do. But I think, you to make $100, $200 a month, you've got to have 10,000 plus subscribers with regular big views. I think it's not a massive gold mine, I think, unless you're a young, hip guy with some sort of a niche. I know there are people who make a fortune off YouTube. But I'm a bit old in the tooth for that. Trading is what I want to do. This is just a platform to trade on, really. So other people can see you trade, and then you're less likely to do something stupid because you've got people watching over your shoulder. Hopefully you're making additional money. Yeah. I was quite surprised, actually. I thought I'd just make a few quid here or there. I didn't do it to make money out of. It's just another trader said, get an affiliate code, and if you've got it up, people are using it. It doesn't cost them anything, but I think it was showing $230 something yesterday. I was quite shocked, actually. I think about $80 of it was just over the last 48 hours, I think. Obviously, everyone, with the 90% they had, which is ridiculously good. Agree with Discord. Yeah, I'm not too sure about Discord. Scares me a bit. I joined this because somebody sent me an invite to Discord to trade with some other people, and I sort of signed up for it. I didn't know what the bloody hell was going on. It's annoyingly complicated. Yeah, it is. I agree with you there. I found it complicated. I didn't quite know what was going on, to be fair. I ended up deleting it off my computer because it kept popping up. But it is complicated, and I don't know about you, Kirk. I'm 53, and I think we're a bit old in the tooth for that sort of stuff, aren't we? Maybe, or should I speak for myself? Okay, we've got to push down, but price is a little bit congested here. As tempting as it is to go long, and it probably will. I think it's just a bit risky there. We've had a push up out of here, and it's come back. I'd probably like it to come back here first, and maybe push up a bit more before I think about long. It's certainly looking. There's quite a nice overall trend developed there, and it seems to be sitting quite nice. The thing about the score is you can share snapshots of what you're doing. Yeah, 50 is the new 20. God, I hope so, mate. I got to say, when I get a cold or a virus now, I feel like an old man. It batters you. It seems to be there for weeks. Since every time you blow your nose, you're blowing weeks and weeks of snot out. I've got to say, getting old isn't fun. I got to start eating a bit better. I've put a couple of stone over the last 6 months. I'm knocking on 15 stone now, which is quite big for me. I need to start taking better care of myself, especially see my mum. She went cancer, and seeing your mother take her last breath is one of the strangest things I've ever seen. And I've got a 14-year-old daughter, so it just made me start thinking about I need to start taking better care of myself. It's easy to get into bad habits, isn't it? A bit of comfort eating and a bit of lack of exercise. What happened to your evaluation account yesterday? Well, the one was blown and the other one was $200 off its max drawdown. So I don't know, I bought somewhere down here just to see if I could pull it out of the ship, but I think that was a bit far gone, that was. There is a possible second entry there, but it was a bit far gone, so I thought I'd just get rid of it. I took a bit of a gamble. It only cost me about £13 English, so I thought, I don't know, to be honest with you, after that experience with Trade Copy, I'm kind of glad it's gone, really, and I can just concentrate on this account. When I start to get a bit of money coming in and they get another 80% deal, I'll have another go, but I'd rather get a little bit of experience with Trade Copier first. So what I might do is use Trade Copier and use the PA account as my main account and use the demo account as a copy account. So it doesn't matter then, and at least it'll give me a bit of experience of using it. I'd rather make mistakes on it on £13 evaluations. They always have the good evaluations anyway. There'll be plenty of 80s coming up. Yeah, that's what happened with that. Did they deduct or withdraw? Did they deduct your withdrawal on your account already? No, not yet. You've got to do it between the 1st and the 5th. So I did ask the question about that, and Daryl said it'll get processed a few days after, and it'll come out sometime before the 15th. And the 15th falls on a Saturday, so whether it's paid there or not, I don't know. But I'm aware where my account is now, and I just want to make sure I don't do something stupid. In fact, I'm not going to now. I think perhaps part of the reason why I've been feeling so stressed is because I really want to protect that. Okay, so we've had this bit of a trend forming down here. Let's see if we can get a push up and maybe, I don't know. EMA has gone a bit flat. I am still thinking upwards at the moment, but obviously it depends on what we see. You're using Trade Copy here, and they are very easy to set up. I just finished 550. Oh, well done. Well, to be honest with you, the way Daryl explained it, it did look simple. But what I didn't realise is when I set it up the day before, I went through the settings, and then I shut that down and saved it, and I didn't realise it opens it up in the background. So when I opened it up yesterday, I went into new and reopened it. So apparently I had two copies up, and obviously they don't work. So I ended up doing ridiculous amounts of copies on one, contracts on the one, and the one blew. and the other one I think was $200 off its max loss. So that's the one I decided to just jump in earlier and just trade that one on its own and just see if I could get a bit of luck and get me out of it. But I didn't fancy doing an evaluation. Minus $2,300. So I thought for the sake of $13, I'll just chance my luck. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I'll just concentrate on this and then spend a bit of time chatting with people and finding out, are there any other pitfalls that I may fall into, and just getting a little bit of clear knowledge of it before I decide to try it again. At least I've got it. I've paid for it. It's there waiting at some point. Okay, so we've had this channel. We've had a breakout. Let's see what happens now. So we get a new low, then a push above, and maybe a higher high. Just make sure you only have one copy opened. Quick question for you, Albert. If I have this chart here now, yeah, and I've got one open, if I right-click and duplicate that window and drag the same chart onto another screen, say to change it for the 10,000, will I still only have one open, one trade copier open? Even though I've just duplicated my chart. I'm assuming I would, but I'm not sure. A couple of days to get the hang of it. What I think I'll do, Douglas, is... Right, just quickly, Albert. So I have, let's say I had one copy of it open now. If I right-clicked, click duplicate window, then I'm right in saying I would have two copies of it open. Is that correct? See, I think Daryl really should have mentioned that in the training video because it just wasn't clear. A lot of people do open another chart. That's the problem. I quite often have a zoomed out. See, I'm zoomed into this at the moment, see, but I often have that on a screen above me just so I can have a quick glance that I'm not missing something larger. So I didn't realise if I open that up, it would open two. But I suppose what I can do is if I open that, I open two, and then if I highlight down here, it'll show me that there's two open. Obviously, I've clearly got one control panel and nothing else. So I'm assuming... could you repeat that? Always move down to micros. Is that me repeating something, is it me? I'm not sure. Let me just zoom in here a minute. Okay, so we seem to be respecting the bottom of this channel. So let me just see if we can get a higher low. We've had a break. We haven't had a new low, which I'm not mega concerned about because we are in quite a strong uptrend. Downside, I believe it won't duplicate the copier if you duplicate your window. But what I'll do, Albert, is maybe tomorrow, a day after tomorrow or something, I'll open again and I'll keep my PA account as the main account. So it doesn't matter what I do, that'll only trade once, and then I'll put my sim as a copied account, and then I'll try it in another window and I'll have a look and I'll have a play around with it as the sim being copied, just so I can iron out any wrinkles. If you have three accounts, make a mistake in one, now you only have two other accounts that are clean. The copy destroys that. Yeah, a lot of people swear by the copier. You know, if you go onto the Apex page and look at payouts, there's one guy in there who's taken $40,000 out of each account. He's got 10 accounts. So he's clearly making a ton of money. So I do like the fact that I only need to continue to trade two contracts. I like two contracts. The losses don't seem as scary, but as I go up to 3 and 4 and 5, the amount changes and so does the cycle. So I kind of like the idea of having maybe maximum of 5 counts and 2 contracts on each. So you're earning 5 times the amount, but without that sort of psychological, you know. Okay, so if I look at this bar here, that's sort of broken out there. So we've had a new low here. Try to go once, try to go twice. So that possibly be a failure, but to me, that's a little bit sideways there. So I don't want to get involved in that at the moment, because areas like this may break out before it pushes back in. So if you get stuck in a trap there, might trick you out, stop you out, a couple of pushes down, and then it'll push back in. So yeah, the psychologic's better for most. Yeah, I kind of like I didn't sort of see the fascination with it at first, but I'm thinking, yeah, I'm used to 2 contracts, and I'm used to seeing that maximum loss $400. So if I go up to 2 contracts and the maximum loss is $800, that has a little bit of a psychological edge on you, really, doesn't it? So I think I kind of like the idea, especially now you've got these one-off payments. Okay, so we've had a break out of this trend channel, that's clear. So break, new low. See what happens here. What I think I'm going to wait for is a push up and then a higher low. I'm not just going to take a bullish bar here, because the way I am at the moment, I think I need to be extra cautious. So we've clearly had a break out of this trend channel. That's clear. Trend down, small trend down, breakout, push down. So we have gone trying to go higher once, trying to go twice. So it's hard to say at the moment. I'm a big fan of the copy. It's like anything, when you get the confidence in using it, you've used it a few times, it's not an issue. But I think I'll have a play around with it with my PA as the main account. In fact, what I might do is just open another sim and just use 2 sims. I'll have one sim as the main account and another sim, and I'll just mess around and try different scenarios and get a bit of faith in it then. 3 points on one serial. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it definitely, I think it works as a nice psychological thing, isn't it? I think it's much nicer to just, you can sort of pretend they're not really there really, and you're just focusing on one, and the rest is, I think it's much better to focus on one sort of fixed amount than, and have 2 accounts instead of double that up. Because once you double that up, effectively you're risking twice as much in your head. See, so, or use micros to practice. Yeah, I don't want to risk anything, to be honest with you. What I'll probably do is, you can open as many sims as you like. I've opened before. I might open a couple of sims and then put one as my main and just have a little fiddle there. And it doesn't matter what happens then, does it, on a sim? If you save it as your workspace, it will not. If you save it as a workspace, would that not just one trade copy window? I think it would. But I think I'd opened it and set it and then shut it down. And when I shut it down, I saved it. So then when I opened it, it had already opened. So then when I started yesterday, I opened it again, unrealising it. And I think there lies the problem. But it could have been worse. I only ended up losing 2 $13 evaluations, which is $15 evaluations, whatever they are. So the damage was minimal. So, you live and learn. Sometimes these mistakes that cost you a few quid, you tend to remember. Yes, Albert, I agree with that. 2 losses in a day. I think that's a sensible way of doing things, because if you've lost two losses, I don't think you're going to be thinking as clearly. And you're going to be scrapping to try and get one back, and that is going to probably draw you into making a bad decision. So yes, if I make 2 losing trades in a day from now on, I will definitely close up for the day, go away, maybe break another monitor, drink some whiskey, cry me soup a bit. Let's see what happens here. If we can get a push above here and a higher low, or a lower high. Okay, we've pushed out of this a little bit. Let's see if we can get something else. I like the one that EMA to start going like that if we can. That's quite a bullish bar, that is. I'd say it's lightly going to push up from there, but I think that's a bit risky because your stop's going to have to go here. So I don't really want to get into that at the moment. Punish yourself, do the treadmill. I'd rather stick up pins in my eyes and get on a treadmill. I hate them damn things. Yeah, if you'd gone long here, your arse would be twitching now, wouldn't it? Well, I think it's probably likely going to push up, but yeah, I'm not a fan of treadmills. I did karate for about 17 years, so that was my form of exercise. But I ended up having operations on 2 knees from kicking fresh air year after year. So I had cartilage taken out of both knees, so my running days are probably well and truly over. Close the break even. I take it you took that, did you? I think it's probably likely it's going to work. Or this. I think it's probably likely it's going to work. I think we've had a breakout, haven't we? Big, strong push back in. Another bullish finish on its high. I think it's likely it's going to go higher. I'll go out in the yard and punish myself with weights and a bike. I usually kick the dog, actually. No, I don't. We got 2 dogs. We got 2 cockaboos. Absolutely mad, lovable things. They help with my psychology. Yeah, it is choppy. I think it's likely it's going to push out. We've had this clear up channel. It's moved nice and steadily. We've pushed up, we've pulled back, pushed up, pulled back, pushed up, pulled back. This is a good correction. I can see us moving a bit higher again. Whether we'll pop out the bottom first or not, it's hard to say. But whenever we've had these sort of corrections, it seems to be where we drop out the bottom, doesn't it? We pushed up. I can't get suckered into anything stupid. It'd be lovely if I get in the green just for one day. That'd be great for my psyche. You got a cocker spaniel, have you? Please tell me his name's not Lance. Yeah, you can't beat that. We Brits love our animals, don't we? We love our dogs. We got 2 cockapoos, Molly and Wilson, and they're just, I've never known 2 more lovable dogs, and they're great for helping you chill out, I've got to say. Maybe triple test and jump. Yeah, you may be right, mate. In fact, no. Okay, so we've had this. This is a lower high. Oh, look at that go. Risky that is to get in there. In fact, I'll be shocked. I'm surprised it hasn't really strongly pushed up after that. What is that bar? It's 4 1/4, isn't it? 4 1/4. I'd rather try and get in on a limit order, but I think it's still a little bit risky. I think it's likely it's going to push up, but I think after that strong push and it triggers above, I could get on a limit order, but it's. Let me just see if I can get in on a limit order. I don't think it's going to allow me. I was going to put the limit order in here, but I don't think it's going to get back to here, is it? So we can get a failure. Because there's a new low there, isn't it? That's why we broke and we made a new low here, so. I thought that would have moved up a little bit stronger there. I'm going to try and get in this on a limit order. I think if it breaks above here, let's see if it comes down and gives us that. Okay, let's give us it on a limit order. Let's see if we can just get some green. If we can break above this, that's a second entry short, which is triggered. If we can break above this, then I think we're golden for the top then. I think we'll probably likely break out here, but let's just gotta get above here first. I'm tempted to get out and be $4 in the green, but if we can break above here, I think then we're golden then. I kind of like we had a breakout, big bullish bar, higher low. Wasn't a massive fan of this, but I think it's okay. I think we're going to get up here. That's our key target to get above there. That's the second entry short. I dare say after this big long push up, there's going to be some short strap there for sure. So if we can get above here, I'm going to let it push above and then jam my stop in there and try and get something half decent out of it. Just wondering whether there'll be any shorts in that as well. It's a big bearish bar, that, but what didn't tick higher. So what I might do is just put that like that and just follow it up if it goes up all right. Just want to try and get in the green for sure, but if it breaks above here, then I favour it then to make the high of the day then. Sometimes they do take a bit of time, and sometimes when they take a bit of time and keep going up and up, it's usually a nice indication that they're slowly working up. So we'll see. Just where the nerves come into it. What I'm going to do is just take my stop below there. It is a bit more risk. It's a 4-point risk, which is not. I think we're likely to go higher. We've had this new low. This one's higher. This one's higher. If this doesn't get any lower than this, then I think we're. Sometimes they do go a bit like this, and it can be a bit nerve-wracking, but I've just got to go with it. I got out of one of these the other day with a couple of ticks, and it ended up going up. So I'm just going to leave this run. If it loses, I'm going to finish for the day. And if it wins, I'm probably going to finish for the day, see what happens. Okay, so new low, higher, higher, higher. So it is making higher highs. I was hoping we'd break out of this, so see what happens. If we can break above there, then I think we're okay. But it is what it is at the moment, and I'm in it. So I'm just going to let it run. I'll move the stop just because below that big bullish bar, I don't know. I wanted to just give myself just a little extra breathing room just in case. I've been stopped out by a tick or two before. And it's probably just under a point I've moved it, but we'll have to see what happens. starting to not look good, is it? Okay, so that would have stopped me out with a tick. No, it's not looking good, is it? Okay. Get above here. I did look at taking that one, say, and that one would have worked. Obviously, that one wouldn't have done. Well, that's if we do get up. I'm not convinced we're going to yet. But if this finishes bullish, then I think there's a possibility we may get above here. It's hard to say at the moment. If we can get above here, then I think we'll hit some stops for sure then. And then I'll sort of get my order jammed in there, get my stop jammed in there, count myself lucky. I think what I'm going to do is put that there now. If we do break below there, and I'm thinking then down then, but we'll see. See what happens. In fact, let's put it 2 ticks where it was. Let's leave it there, see what happens. I am thinking up at least to this high, but if we can get above here, I think that's the key. If we can get above there, then I think it'll push high then and break this high. But I think that's the key. That's a second entry short there. There's going to be some shorts in there for sure. If we can break above there, I'm going to jam me stopping. Finishes on its high, I'll be pleased. Okay, that's not too bad. We need to break above that red bar, and if that happens, then I think we'll go towards the top then, I think. There we go. Not as much strong as a push as I was expecting. So what I might do is just put that there and take something, hopefully, if it pushes out. Okay, it took me out. Okay, so yeah, perhaps I think in hindsight I should have stayed out of that. It's just congested. On the upside, I'm in the green. I think it's likely it's going to push up. I expected there to be some shorts there, to be fair, and the way that ticked above there. So if there is any shorts expecting this to come down, maybe their stops are up here. I don't know. I think I come out at the right time. At least I'm in the green a bit, and I'm just. I went in on a limit order there, didn't I? And the reason I brought it down a little bit is because I did that. That probably, although it's sideways and we've had a break, would have been the better trade because it didn't tick below there. It's just too congested there. What I think is going to happen is this will tick below. There may be some shorts in there, and then it'll tick above it and push up. Fail second entry short, yeah. There's the new low, that's the thing on mine, isn't it? I think it's likely it's going to push above that if it does. Anybody else thinking of going long above that? We are still moving up as a fashion, aren't we? Good to see in the green, yeah. I'm happy, even though it's only $75. It's $75. Yeah, it's really choppy, this, isn't it? See if this does tick above here. So we've broken out of it. We've made 2 pushes, haven't we? And sometimes if it doesn't break higher than this, sometimes then it can reverse, can't it? If it's not strong enough. I like to think there's going to be a few shorts there, thinking maybe 2 pushes up, followed by a reversal. We're right at the top of the day, and it may well go. It's just hard to say at the moment. I'm kind of glad I'm out of it, but it is weird when you expect that. You expect to push up, but it is, even taking this one, it is congested really, and I think just the fact that momentum is got me out of that, I think, and see, that's where I had my stop, wasn't it? But I always bring it down 1 extra tick. So I had my stop probably there, and had it down an extra tick. So if I'm going to go long here, I think that would have been the better entry. In which case it wouldn't have hit my stop. But let's see what's going on here. See if this is going to push higher. I think if it breaks above there, it's going to push higher. 1 leg up, 2 legs up, see what happens. Possible trend line going up. 3882, yeah. See, it has broken above that, but it hasn't had a sort of a possible second entry short there. I just don't want to be thinking about shorting at the moment. I think it's likely going to go higher, but it's not going to do it in a hurry, I don't think. I think there'll possibly be some shorts up here, picking this as the high as the day. So how long have we been trading? 3 hours. 3 hours, yeah. I'm going to give it till about another 20 minutes. 3.5 hours maximum then, I think. Okay, there is a second entry short there. Hasn't finished right anyway, but I certainly don't want to be going short here. It is slowly working its way up, but it's doing it very slowly, and I don't like that fact. Yeah, the trouble is with these really slow moving ones up, you can get trapped before it eventually moves up. And nothing worse than being stuck in a trade going like this is the. So I think I'm just going to have to sit tight, I think. Yeah, we've clearly had a break, but we haven't had a new low there. But we don't always. That might be why it's moving up slowly. But look at that, $75. I can't believe that. $75 in the green. Well, any green days, at least yeah. It's a better feeling than the red. Okay, so might chop around a bit until the news. Yeah, it sort of seems the news is about an hour and 20 minutes away, isn't it? Worse than being stuck with a bad woman. I don't know, it's easy to get out of that. Luckily, I got a good woman. Excuse me. I've got a good woman, a supportive woman. Very caring woman. I'm lucky there. Yeah, I'm lucky. And I've just had the one woman with the one wife since I was 23. So 30 years, so I'm lucky actually. I've got a good supportive wife, lovely 14-year-old daughter that's just found her vocals. But I love them both and I'm lucky. So sometimes, I don't know if anybody else finds that, sometimes you can find yourself that involved in your trading. You tend to forget sometimes about, the good things you got in your life, and you got your health, you got your family. Sometimes trading can be the be all and end all, and you can sit on your bed sometimes with your head in your hands thinking, oh my God, life couldn't be worse. When sometimes you've just got to open your eyes and look around you and realise, I live in the UK, it's a nice, safe place to live, I've got a roof over my head, I've got a family, we're all healthy. So sometimes you've got to open your eyes a bit, haven't you? And just remember what you really have got. Your dad gave you 100 grand, and I believe in it. He died to get it sorted. Sort of. Is that what you mean, John, is it? Lucky you. Thanks, though, son. Thank you, Dr. Linny. Yeah, I think sometimes you got to, trading can affect your life so much, especially in those early months and years. And it's very easy to sort of thinking life couldn't get any worse. Life's hard. You have those bad days. And then sometimes you really have got to open your eyes and look around, and you tend to miss sometimes what's right in front of you. Let's remove this. We definitely seem to be doing some sort of sideways action, don't we? But yeah, in fact, just thinking about that actually is giving me a bit of a lift. So I'll take a $75 green day any day at the moment. But you're going to get hiccups like this. You're going to get a lovely big run, and then you're going to get a little stumble, aren't you? And then you're going to trip a little bit before you start to move up again. So it is. It's definitely 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But I think if you keep trying, the one thing I've got going for me now is I'm not revenge trading. I'm not jumping in. I used to jump in and randomly hit them buttons, and I haven't done that. I've taken a few questionable trades, but that's part of it. But as long as you live with it and you keep moving forward, I think you're going to do okay. But I'll make him proud. Good on you, John. Good on you. Not nice losing a parent. I lost my mum 4 days ago. Worst thing I've ever experienced, seeing your mother take a last breath. My mum was one of the most... Now, we all say nice things about people when they die, but my mum was a nurse for years, and she worked in old people's home for years. She was just a natural carer. She saw many people on their final journey, so she knew exactly what was happening. She'd had it all planned, and all she was worried about was how we'd all take it. But right up until the end, even 24 hours before she passed, she got my stepdad to go and take £500 out of the bank to cover all the costs, registering the death and all that sort of thing. She'd got all that planned, and I got to say, she was an amazing woman who I was lucky to have her, really. She had a tough old life at times. Thanks, mate. She had a tough old life. My dad, my biological father, was killed in Ireland, in Northern Ireland, in the army when I was 3 years old. So she lost a husband at 23, shortly after she miscarried on twins, and had a stepdad from the age of 6 who passed away about 22 years ago. So she lost 2 husbands. So she had a fair share of trauma, but she was one of the most strongest, caring, she always knew the right thing to say. She absolutely loved her family and her kids, Thanks, Blaze. Yeah. So it was weird. She was there the day I came into the world, and I was sat holding her around the day she left the world. So it was quite a privilege to say I was there with her. And I've not talked about this much, but sometimes it's easy to talk about it to complete strangers. But I've, done the typical British stiff upper lip for my family, try to be there and strong and all this. Because my 14-year-old daughter, bless her, she's taking it hard. But she's at that sort of age. Cheers, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, we tend to think our parents are going to live forever. I'd say if your parents are still around, spend a lot of time with them. Tell them how much you love them, because one day they're not going to be around. And I don't think it's really sunk in yet that I'm never going to see her again, but it's quite weird. I had a walk up to the cemetery a couple of days ago. It's not far from us where my dad's buried, and I was having a little chat with him. Because strangely enough, when my dad was killed 50 years ago in Northern Ireland, my mum had the plot dug extra deep, and she planned to be buried there, and that's what's going to happen. So it's kind of nice. Yeah, thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it. It is easy talking to strangers about it sometimes, isn't there? But I tend to not talk to my wife about it because I suppose I'm sort of maybe worried and a bit embarrassed about it and upset about it. But sometimes strangers are the easiest people to talk to, aren't they? Wish you all the best in training. Thanks, Albert. I appreciate all you guys. Nice to offload on you sometimes. You always appreciate nurses and carers. Yeah, some people are just born to do it, aren't they? My mum was always the one. She sort of looked after my granddad right up to when he died. The same with my grandmother. She's just always looked after people, and she's just always been natural at it. And strangely enough, I'll tell you a quick story, actually. She was in the hospital, and she knew she was dying, and we talked about it, and this vicar came around. Military vicar, and he talked to her about it, and he said, how do you feel about, how did you feel when you knew, you were going to lose the battle? And she went, I actually felt a massive relief. And she said, I almost felt like somebody had put this overcoat over me that was made of chainmail. I felt all the little squares and all the little bits of metal moving, not heavy like you would expect, military sort of chainmail, but this weird sort of light but chainmail thing over. She said, there's any way I could describe it. And this guy got really excited, and he came to see her a couple of days ago and said, would you mind this other guy coming to see you? And she went, no, fine. So he came, and he said, we've heard of this before. And he was mega excited about it, and he said, I think you've been blessed. So take what you will of that, but it just goes to show, doesn't it? Maybe because she's been that sort of caring person who's always looked after people all her life. Maybe you're getting your bonus. It's just hard to say, isn't it? But yeah, strange things happen, don't they? But she was never scared of dying. She'd seen hundreds upon hundreds of people over the years on their sort of final journey, and she was very relaxed about it. So that sort of helps you, makes you a bit stronger, doesn't it? Vicar or clergyman for us? Yeah. Well, actually, this was a padre, what we call a military vicar, someone who works with the military. And me being a sort of a military family, we've always had him in our life. I wouldn't class myself as religious. Would I say I believe in God? I don't know. I'm a bit on the fence there. I like to believe we go somewhere else. But sort of believing in God isn't a sort of privilege I've been lucky enough to have. But I wish I did. It certainly make life a lot easier, I think, sometimes. Vicar, yeah. We call them vicars over here. I think they call fathers Catholics. But we used to go to church as kids. We with a military family, we'd always do that on a Sunday. We go to church, and then we go to the sergeant's mess. My dad was a sergeant, stepdad was a sergeant. We'd have a big Sunday dinner together, and I've got to say, I've had many, many messages from military over the last 4 days, giving their condolences, that have known my mum and knew my stepdad and knew my real dad. I've had some lovely support messages. And the good thing about the military family is they never forget you. They're always there if you need them, and they always, I'm on a couple of Facebook groups with old guys that people, my father and my stepfather used to know. And yeah, someone put a post on my mum saying about the sad passing, saying she was one of the good ones. And it is lovely when people just don't forget, and that's the beauty about being part of the military. You become this family that never seems to go away, and it's kind of nice. It's kind of a nice, warm, sort of fuzzy feeling that you know they're out there, you know, and they're thinking of you. It's kind of nice. Santa Claus do a lot for Easter Bunny. Yeah. Santa Claus, yeah. I know some people think it's easier to believe in Santa Claus than God, wouldn't it? But you just don't know. I think there's way too many things happened over the years for there to be nothing. So as I get older, I suppose you naturally sort of look into it and you think about it, don't you, as you get older? I've got to say, I've had this desire to live a lot longer, and so my 14-year-old daughter doesn't have to see me like I saw my mum, you know? So these things happen for a reason, don't they? So that's why I'm not trading tomorrow. We'll be making funeral arrangements, but life goes on. You've got to keep moving forward, haven't you? That's what my mum always said. You just got to get on with it. And that's what I'm doing, luckily, with the Green Day. So it's win-win. Yeah, I know Americans are quite religious, aren't they? You're quite a religious bunch. I don't know. I think about the Brits. We seem to have lost it over the years. I don't quite know why. But you know, when I was a kid, we used to go to a place called Sunday school where you do all your usual stuff. But you know, we always did religious education at school. But it seems to have just, I don't know. It's the younger generation. It's almost like it's gone out of fashion in a way. It's strange. It does make you wonder whether there's going to be churches in the UK in the future. I suppose the less people that go, the more chance they've got of disappearing, which is sort of kind of sad, isn't it? Okay. So whether we are going to go upwards now or not, I don't know. We do seem to be, see what happens here. Would I take a long gear, second entry long, big bullish bar? Tempting. I just don't like the way it's tried quite a few times and failed quite strongly, so sometimes it's areas like this that make reversals, isn't it? So whether it's too early to see at the moment, isn't it? If we get a big bullish bar here, is it worth going up? I think possibly. But at the moment, I'm just slowly starting to get my mojo back with this little bit of a Green Day. So I think I'm going to sit out of this, however good it looks. I think it's just the way we've had this quite strong trend up. We've had a break, and we've tried to break it a few times, and we haven't. So it does seem to be weakening. So whether the buyers will come back in here and have another go or not, I don't know, but could just well as start to move down now. Ever been to a Tarts and Vickers party? I haven't personally. Or have I? But I know they used to do one at the military camps. Because we sort of, my biological father was in the army and he was killed when I was 3, and my mum remarried a few years later, and he was military as well. He did his 22 years. So we've always had that military connection, and they do all sorts of weird, wonderful things, don't they? Fight hard, sort of play hard, but I've always liked being part of the military family. Always had a lot of respect for military. I did a short bit of time in the reserve, or the territorials, they used to call them over here. I did a little bit of time in there, but it was in my middle 20s. I was probably getting a bit old then, and I'd sort of got set me ways a bit. So, but yeah, I've always had a lot of time for military. Anybody who's served their country, it's a big ask to do something like that, and it takes a special person to put the life on the line. Any type of military, no matter what it is. I've always been comfortable around military personnel because I spent half my life around them, half my younger days around them. Bridget Jones died. Yeah, it's something we have over here, Tarts and Vickers. More sort of think in the 80s, it probably not so much now, but yeah, we have some weird and wonderful ways of doing things in the UK. Well, quite reserved. I know a lot of you American guys are a lot more open with your emotions, aren't you? And you're a lot more sort of outspoken. We tend to keep a lot of stuff bottled here, and we're a little bit more reserved here. We're a little bit less fun. I got to say, if you were going to go out, I think you'd have probably a better fun night out with some Americans than you would Brits. I think us Brits can be quite boring, I think, at times. Reserved, we call it, but I just think we're a little bit... We tend to bottle things up. I know you guys get stuff out in the open, don't you? You can shout and scream over here. Over there, it doesn't quite work that way. People get very offended. Did I serve with the Gurkhas? No, I didn't know. I did a little bit of time in the Territorial Army with a regiment called the Light Infantry. They've changed now. They're called the Rifles now, but no, the Gurkhas were part of the British Army. They're a very, very important part as well. Although they've had a bit of a tough time lately. Being able to remain in the country, but that's another story. You know what I mean? Desperation is things, yeah. I haven't got a Viking claw, no. What is a Viking claw? You'll have to enlighten me. I think you're more of a man of the world than I am, Kirk. Monty Python. History of Silly Walks. Excuse me. Yeah, Monty Python was big over here. I don't know what it's like in the US, but it's big over here. Life of Brian and things like that. Brits tend to go out and get plastered in a pub and then do quotes from the Life of Brian. I don't quite know why, but it's just something we tend to do. I think that fell second entry long. Way away from the EMA for me. I tend to not take them that far away from the EMA, obviously with a strong push down. But I tend to avoid them. I tend to like them, taking them something like that, or at least getting a little bit closer. Because if I looked at Mac's chart or Marco's chart, they wouldn't take that one. They would consider that far too far from the EMA. As down as I think we're possibly coming now. I mean, you just don't know. We may have two pushes down and then we might move up in a fashion, but it's just hard to say, is it? We've got this news looming in the next hour, so I'm even surprised we've had this. I thought we might just sort of mess around sideways for a while. Got you. Got you. Vikings were a tough old breed. There's been a few programs on TV actually. There was a good series out, Vikings. Enjoyed watching that. I forget his name now, innit? Ragnar Lothbrok, I think his name was. The series I watched, enjoyed that. Yeah, I know what you mean. So yokes are not there for gripping, really, just steering, aren't they? I think if you're gripping your yoke, you may be heading downwards quite rapidly, I think. You took that fell second entry long there, did you? As you say, possibly risky. Yeah, I mean, I've had a green day. Can you see that, Sam? What's that? $75, mate. There's no way I'm giving that up today. Yeah, it looked at it, but it moved quite quick. And at the moment, I need my trades to be extra particular, risk-free or riskier-free. Trouble is, I've been caught out with those before, so we've had this bit of a bottom, haven't we? And that possibly could have triggered and popped back up. It's just hard to say. So I'm pretty sure if I see Mac later, I don't think he'll have taken that trade, and I don't think Marco will. It's not to say it wasn't going to work. Just at the moment, we managed to have a green day. I'm trying to play things nice and carefully. Did you have to pay for the Apex order copy yet? Order copy. Oh, trade copy. Yeah, I think it was $120. I think it was $120. I think that's how much they are. $150 it might be, actually. Might be 120 quid UK, actually. Yeah, that probably sounds right, actually. Oh, it looks a bit different on yours. Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't it? It quite often does. I wasn't quite expecting that sort of push, but I do wonder if we are going to retest the tops of this channel, because that's often where we can come down and bounce and push up again. And sometimes we'll do this and bounce, and then we'll come up to the EMA, and then we'll end up doing something like that. Sometimes we'll do that, but pure speculation. But it is slowly losing momentum, possibly. I'm guessing because of this. Let's see if it bounces or it pushes through. Okay, yeah, the bodies are closed below there. See what happens. See if it pushes through. Yeah, strongly through. See what happens now. I'm expecting it to pop out now. Too late to short this. Yeah. Well, the thing is, we had this push down, didn't we? We had this pullback, and then it went incredibly bearish again. So I think it was feasible. And not just that. Sometimes it does make a difference that you've just come away from the EMA. I mean, if we were taking it down here, I'd expect it to I'd be thinking EMA, but it's only just literally come away from the EMA. So sometimes I've noticed in patterns, when it just comes away from the EMA, you can probably take it a little bit further away, and that might be the case there. Yeah, cheers, Sam. Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. Finally, to have a green day again, I'm just happy. I'm not trading tomorrow. I've got these funeral plans to sort out, but at least I've managed to keep in that $5,000 and a little bit of a green day. But $75 is a huge amount of money when you've had some red days, I've got to say. Okay, it's strongly pushing down there, isn't it? It's not holding back, is it? In fact, on that note, we've been trading now for a few minutes over 3 hours, and we've got this news coming back. So I think I'm probably going to call it a day there. We've had a few tests. It's been a little bit testy. Certainly been rangy with a push out and a pull back in, but it's quite choppy, isn't it? There's no clear sort of pattern there. It's pretty choppy. And sometimes it's quite hard to trade there, and I think this is probably one of them. Another awkward day, probably. Yeah, I did look at the overshoot. I'll just wind it for now, but probably a lot to do with this FOMC news we've got coming in an hour. So, now I have heard people mention, I know Brant mentioned it earlier, I've heard people mention sometimes days where we get this news, it can operate a little bit choppy. But thanks, mate. I appreciate that, Sam. Hope it helps sharing. Yeah, sometimes it's better to talk to strangers, isn't it? Sometimes when you talk to your family, I think I'm one of these roughy tufty types. I feel a bit embarrassed at getting upset in front of people, and I tend to want to try and be strong for everyone. You know what I mean? But it's not often the best way of doing things, is it? So sometimes it's nice to unload on strangers. Not that you guys are strangers. I class you guys as trader pals with the same interest as me, or trader pals, or maybe slightly deranged people who like punishment, possibly. But yeah, okay. So no trading tomorrow. I'll be taking care of family things tomorrow, and then I'll be here again on Friday. So bank's perfectly off look great. Yeah, see. Is it going to come lower or are we going to get a push-up? It's hard to say, innit? But I think I need to consider myself a green day. 75 quid's good for me. It's just nice to finally get back into the green. But I've got to say the last few days have been a little bit trickier. I think that's fair to say. It is a bit tricky there. See if you call that a range, okay? Now, from what I learned about Mac, he likes range days because you sell the highs and buy the lows. The trouble is, every time it goes up, it's in a different bloody place, isn't it? And you could say, okay, well, the lows are down here. Yeah, they sort of are. But there's no real good entries for starters. Or you could say, okay, let's call them. You know what I mean? There's nothing obvious to buy off. There's nothing obvious to sell off because there's no real setups there. So it's hard to trade all this. Now, this is the sort of first failed breakout. Now, there is a bullish bar there. Ends one, took off at its higher, and you could sort of buy that into the range. But after this big, strong push down, I just didn't have the confidence to do that. And then we sort of rattled around here a bit, and then a big, strong push up. I suppose, if anything, there was a possible entry here or here. But I think up to this point, I think this has been relatively untradeable. At least good setups. I personally can't see any really good setups. No, it's not clear. It's not clear. New break, new high. See, you could possibly call that a failure. Moving down, we've come off the bottoms, pushed up, broke new high. Try to go once or twice. There's nothing obvious there. I don't think it'll be interesting to see a Max chart later, but there's no obvious trades there. No real easy obvious trades. I mean, strong push up their side was, some may have taken that. Some may have taken that. I don't know if there's any in there, maybe. I think Kurt getting somewhere there, or did you short? I can't remember, but no real sort of obvious stuff today. Not a lot of trades anyway, in my opinion. I certainly can't see it. Certainly not on my chart anyway. So after that, I'm going to call my day green. I'm going to bid you all farewell. Have a great evening. I appreciate all your comments, your nice supportive comments about my mum. Makes you feel warm and fuzzy. I'm going to go and have a nice whiskey, spend the evening with my family. Have a great evening, and I will see all you guys here at around about just before the market opens on Friday. So have a great evening. Cheers, guys. I appreciate it. I'll see all you guys on Friday.